Are you looking for comprehensive solutions for your performance and automotive needs? Straight Line Performance and Automotive is a full-service auto repair shop specializing in race car fabrication, electrical design, chassis setup and alignment. Located in Hamden, Connecticut, they also specialize in aftermarket high performance and chassis upgrades. Be sure to look them up on Facebook at www.facebook.com/straightline, STR8LINE, Performance, ampersand Automotive, or give them a call at 203-415-5316. Welcome, racers and fans, to your weekly dose of all things sportsman drag racing. This is Racers News Network Live, presented to you by Straight Line Performance and Automotive. Your hosts, Chris and Pete, bring you the latest news and interviews in the world of sportsman drag racing, including bracket racing, association races, outlaw, and no-time events. They are live every Monday night, right here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take it away, boys.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Racers News Network Live. We have a guest with us tonight. We're going to talk about a little bit of 8th Mile stuff. We're going to talk about some changes to the tree, kind of a carryover from last week. But our buddy Jason Lawrence is going to be on with us. Pete is possibly going to be coming on. He's stuck at his shop right now. Obviously, his business takes priority over this. But we have Rob Keister is going to be joining us probably in about 5 or 10 minutes. Actually, a lot of stuff was going on this week. Everybody's kind of stuck, I guess, about the whole 8th Mile for it's what pro and super pro for bracket finals, right, Jason?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the great debate about the Christmas tree change for the .90 guys is still very, very strong. Obviously, one of the things that came out yesterday was Jags confirmed the sale of their business to, I actually have the Greenbrier is the name of the company that bought them. Yeah. We caught wind of this about a month and a half ago, but decided it really wasn't our place to say anything, especially with a company like Jags and their involvement with the sport, and actually not with us as well. They're actually sponsoring our guests the entry numbers for NHRA Division One. So again, we figured, it's their business, it's their call. Let them make it public, and they did yesterday. Again, they were sold to a company called Greenbrier. No information is yet available about what that means for the Jags All-Stars and the Sports Nationals, stuff like that. Haven't heard anything. I've checked in with a couple of people that were actually out in Arizona, and they haven't heard any information about that yet either. Obviously, a little while, we're going to have the results from Belrose. We're going to have the national event results from Arizona. But Jason was online last week while Pete was debating this with our guest last week, Carly Wilkin. He was typing up a storm and was really hoping to have Pete on with him tonight to kind of bounce this around. But like I said, Rob Keister is going to be joining us. So I guess let's start with the tree thing, Jay, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
So pick it up, my friend.
Well, so I guess it's kind of like Pete said, I haven't heard a real good debate the other way, why it should stay. I mean, to me, if you give me a good reason, whether I agree or not, I can respect the reason. If your reason is, well, I put in a ton of work and a ton of money into my car, everybody should do the same. Well, that's to me not a good reason. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff I did see. Oh well, now everybody's going to be able to hit the tree. Well, last time I checked, if you watch Motor Mania at all and you watch some of these big money bracket races, guess what? Everybody can hit the tree there too, and it's still good racing. That's kind of point of all this. To me, if it brings more people in, I know there's some of the guys that I take a guy, for instance, where they have a dragster and a door car, and they're running the dragster in Super Comp, and they're running their door car in Super Street because their car is close, maybe to hitting the tree, but not close enough to warrant running points or anything like that. Well, now that guy can actually run points with Super Gas and Super Comp, and maybe go for a world points title in both, since they're already traveling around and going to be at the national events and everything like that. People like me, I mean, we're getting the car rebuilt, so more than likely the car is definitely going to be able to hit the tree now. But we did, some of the people saying about putting the work in, we did put all the work in. We did everything we could without sacrificing consistency of the car to get it to hit the tree. Guess what? Still didn't happen. So now I'm not allowed to play with you guys because I don't want to sacrifice consistency of the car to hit a 370 tree that it shouldn't be a 370 tree anyway for sportsman racers that run with a delay box. I don't see your argument why it should stay the way it is. Again, give me some good reasons. Come tell me why, and I'll be more than happy to, again, either agree or still disagree with you, but at least give me a better reason than what I've been hearing. That's kind of where I stand on it.
I know one of the first things that Pete said when we dove into this last week, I can't recall the gentleman's name, but he messaged Pete and said, you know what? That just saved me $60,000.
Mm-hmm.
Having to go out and build a brand new car to be able to, compete, essentially, I guess.
Yeah. And some of it, the way the attitude is, it's like, okay, well, I spent $100,000 in my car, let's say. So you don't want to get beat by some dude in a back half Camaro that goes, 920s that can now hit the tree and run the number now. That's what you're saying, is because that guy only spent 30,000, let's say, in his whole operation. You don't want to get beat by him because you put out $100,000. So they should have to put out $100,000 to play in your league. That doesn't seem right to me. That's not the point of bracket racing. The point of bracket racing is I can take my Honda Civic down to ACA on a Tuesday night and put one dragster after the other on the trailer. So, you know what I mean? That was the point of bracket racing. It's not to spend the most money.
I always thought that one of the things about drag racing that made it really cool was the fact that it wasn't a dollar for dollar thing. It was whoever built the best mousetrap can win the prize.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. Again, like you just said, let's say I roll in my little Kia Forte and you show up in your $200,000 Duster,
mm-hmm.
and, I whip up on you. You're going to come over and get all pissy because, I'm just saying, I have, a car that's 12 years old, worth $1,800, and you have a however many $1,000 race car, and you got mad because I beat you. Because I have the better mousetrap. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna work harder on my car. I'm gonna work harder on myself. I'm gonna continue to hit the tree because if I lost it at the starting line, or I'm gonna brush up or do better or learn how to drive the finish line better. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna be upset because I lost to you. I'm gonna be upset because I lost in general. I don't care if you spent $2 in your operation or $250,000 in your operation. I don't want to lose in general, but I'm going to make a better me or work on my car to be more consistent, whatever the case may be.
You ready, Rob? Bottom left. Unmute yourself.
There we go. Do it all the time.
There he is. What's going on, Rob?
What's up? How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
So you mentioned last week in the comments that you wish you were part of the conversation. Well, we're kind of having a little bit of the conversation tonight just to get you up to speed, though Pete may or may not be joining us. He's having a couple of problems at his garage. But as 2.90 guys, go for it.
Well, I'll let Jason take, because Jason was very adamant on a lot of the stuff with the tree deal. So I kind of let, since Jason is the guest, I think just let him kind of voice what his thoughts are, I guess.
No, I mean, I've pretty much laid out most of what we've done and how, things that we did to the car and things like that, and to try to do it ourselves, and it couldn't happen. I mean, Rob, actually, your race is being a great example of a true 5 and a true 4. Your one big money event that you did at the end of the 1 year, I doubled in your event with the same car in 2 separate classes. Now, I know I can't do that in HRA, and I don't expect to do that in HRA, but that's how we set the car up. It's I guess the best way to put it, what's funny is like a lot of people saying about, again, oh, we got to put the work in and stuff like that. I put a lot of hard work in my car to be lazy. I want my car to foot brake, top bulb, pro tree. I want it to do everything I can, but not have to work on it when I get to the racetrack. So I work very hard at making it very easy to work, but to switch classes with no work at all. So I worked hard at trying to be lazy. I want to go to the track, and I do want to race and hang out. I don't want to be under the car making 4-link adjustments, because now we're at Cecil County. And then, I got to make a 4-link adjustment and do all this stuff because now I want to go foot brake or I want to go top bulb. I want my car to do all of it with minimal work, and I will work hard to make that happen. But, Rob's event was a great time. All I had to do is switch my delay and switch my throttle stop number, my second number. And I went 1090 and 990 and was hitting the tree. So that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be like that. Bracket racing, I go to these top bulb events, I go to foot brake races. I'm not scared to have somebody come up 00 next to me or match me on the tree. That's what I'm here for. I want to race. If I lose, fine, but I want to race. And I want more people to be involved with it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know when they changed the tree, 2004, 2005, or it was, I mean, the biggest thing was it wasn't really notified to a lot of people that the tree was changed until I think it was like almost mid-season for a lot of us, where it was, I mean, we had went to, I think, a division race either at Maple Grove or maybe it was at ACO, and I remember, with our car, I mean, compared to a lot of the super gas cars that are out there right now, I mean, we have a long wheelbase car. I mean, with being a wagon, and, we were having issues trying to hit the tree. And I remember by the end of that event, it looked like a junkyard in our pits. I mean, we had went to Roy, we had got brand new tires from Roy. We had, I believe, changed the transmission. We changed the converter. We had changed the chip in order for it, so it would leave a little higher RPM. Adjusted 4 links, bars, and everything in there was, and we were still, even with the diving in a little bit on the tree, we were still only like 30 on the tree. And, it just was getting more and more frustrating, and we couldn't figure out why. It was like, we knew, like you had said, when we go to like Cecil, that you're going to be a little bit later on the tree because of the rollout at Cecil, and we just kind of were beating our heads up against the wall, and we realized until the next following weekend, we were there for a Mazda race. And, Lucky Luciano was the president at the time, came up to us and he goes, "Hey, what tree do you guys want this weekend?" And we're like, "What are you talking about? What tree do you got? What tree do we want this weekend?" And he's just like, "Yeah, NHRA's went to a 370 tree and we run on a 400. What do you guys want?" And I was like, we all kind of just said, well, there's a reason why, we changed everything in our car, and now, are 30 on a tree and just kind of beating our heads up against the wall when it comes up the things. And it wasn't that we weren't working on the car. We were definitely working on it. But like you said, the relaxing, hanging out type at the track was gone, because pretty much we worked from sun up till sundown trying to make the car hit the tree, and we just didn't make it a fun weekend. And, at the time we decided to stay with a 400 tree with the series, because the fact is that, we all took a vote. Of course, you had your naysayers, the ones who said, if we're going to run 370 on NHRA, why are we not going to run 370 with your series? But then you also, by the time you took a vote and you looked at it, okay, my series doesn't get as many people as like a NHRA event, with Super Gas or even Super Comp or even Super Street. But, if you're only getting 35 cars at my event, and 15 of the guys go, listen, I can't hit a 470 tree, or I can't hit a 370 tree, and it's not worth me spending my money when I can just go run for $2,000 in ACO on a Saturday night bracket race, I'm just not going to run your stuff anymore. So then now you lose that 15 people that, because of the tree change. So I just said, you know what, we keep it at a 400, we keep it at a 500 tree. We kept Super Comp at a 370, but, in turn was, I would rather keep the extra 15 people that we were going to lose, rather than lose them and just have a, set 20 cars that were going to show up every single race, and maybe have a rare 1 or 2 people show up, here or there. But, I'd rather have a 35 car field and have a better payout than have 20 cars. And, it's the way it's kind of stayed. And, I was really shocked when the email came out from Jack. I know Jeff Kondratic had been trying for probably 5 or 6 years now to get NHRA to kind of sway into changing the tree back to a 400 or 500 tree. And, I know it probably went on deaf ears, with a lot of stuff. And I was kind of shocked when I saw the email come out from Jack. And I said, you know what, I'll give my pros and my cons. And that's what I did. I gave my pros pros on both things, and I gave my cons on both of them. Didn't expect anything to happen from it, or was. And next thing I know, I'm on Facebook one night and I see Mike Eppert post up there. It says they have now taken away the LED compensation, and now it's a 400 trade. I'm like, holy, I was just like, holy smokes, that actually, whatever. Do I think it's going to get more blood into the sport? Super Street, maybe. I think you'll see some foot brake guys probably try it. Like Dave Harvey Jr.'s now will try to come and play, because Dave's even come up to me. He says, listen, I'll run your stuff because it's a 500 tree. I can't hit a 470 in the Valley. He says, no matter what I try, I can't hit the 470 in a Valley and be competitive. And, Dave, he's, he wants to be competitive when he's racing. And so you may see him come out and play. There may be some other index guys maybe you're going to come out and play. Yeah, Super Gas, I'm not all too sure. I think it'll be, unfortunately, I think the tree change comes at a little bit at a bad time, especially with gas going to probably skyrocket to God knows $5, $6, $7 a gallon by the summertime where it was. So that's going to force, I think, even some of your regulars to kind of decide, hey, what races do I want to run this year? Do I want to run NHRA race? Do I want to run Rob's races? Do I want to just do ACO bracket, on Saturday night? Do I want to go hit the loose rocker races? Do I want to hit, the FBRB, events? I think people are going to really pick and choose where they go this year. And, I think time will tell. I think it'll be interesting. I think the first couple races, since it's a lot of the local tracks, your ACO, Cecil, Maple Grove, or your 3 biggest draws, probably pretty much when it comes down to Division I races. So I think it'll be interesting. So, but sorry to go on a tangent there.
Well, and I do have to say, I agree with Rob. You're probably going to get a lot more, I would say, more in Super Street. The Super Gas scene is probably going to be more of your guys who are in Super Street because they can't hit the tree. So they'll run from, maybe people who would like to take a shot at world points or have that option, you know what I mean? Start the season off in the division, and you start rolling, you're doing pretty good before Division I has their first national event. Then you do good at the national event. Well, now it gives you the option. So you might get some of those guys that might cross over and give it a try. And you never know. I mean, you never know if maybe some guy out there has the car that could run super gas, but same thing, couldn't hit the tree and aren't going to go crazy adjusting their stuff to make it hit the tree. So,
well, it's going to be interesting to see how the whole thing plays out this year. Like I said, there's already been a fair amount of debate online, and it was. I think we did probably a solid 45 minutes on it last week, and then obviously a little bit more tonight. Like I said, unfortunately, Pete couldn't be on with us to kind of dive into it, but his opinion is a lot like yours is, Jason, kind of like how we talked at the top of the show. Don't just go online and lose your mind. Give me a legitimate debate on this. Don't, well, because that's the way we've been doing it forever. Well, things change as time progresses. And sometimes you just got to change with it. Correct?
yeah.
Well, I'll jump in real quick. My thing is, I don't understand is, I understand there's a lot of super gas guys who are very old school in their thinking. And, listen, I have one that lives downstairs from me. I mean, and it's, but I don't understand is, when you go to some of these tracks, and Jason will attest to this. I mean, I know Jason really hasn't run too much NHRA stuff the past couple of years or so, but, he can attest to it is that it's super gas is, I would say behind probably Comp Eliminator, the second lowest car counts that they get at division races. I mean, Comp usually, gets 10 to 20 cars. Well, super gas, I mean, you go to Epping, you're lucky if you maybe get a 4-rounder out of super gas at like an Epping or it was. So my thing is, why wouldn't we try to at least adjust something to allow more cars to come in and play? Especially when it comes down to world, if you get somebody who's chasing world points or division points or something like that, that one extra round or that extra 2 rounders where it was that you may come into play down the road when you're running, for a national event. I mean, or for a national title. I mean, you might be leading the world going into the last, couple races of the year, and maybe you won. I don't know, maybe you won New Media, but New Media was only a 4-round race, which is only 85 points. But, a race out in Texas or race out in Oklahoma is a 6-rounder, which is going to be a 105 pointer. So somebody wins that, it's a 20 point swing. Whereas the extra cars that you would end up getting for that may help, pad that thing if you're running for a national championship.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. So again, just open the door for more people. I totally agree with that.
Rob,
I mean, I agree. I think that the point system should be somewhat of adjusted. I believe it should be adjusted because of that, because, everybody goes out to Vegas at the last race of the year and it could be a 7 to 8 rounder. And I think it's 7 rounds, you get 115, or 8 round, you get 115 points, I think, for winning. If I'm not too sure off the top of my head, but I think it's 115 if it's an 8-round race, which is over 128 cars. Now, needs to say, probably Indy's the only place you'll probably get over 128 super gas cars. But Super Comp, you would definitely, I think one year, I believe at Vegas, they had 156, I think, Super Comp cars at Vegas one year, which is that's 115 point swing. So, if you're down, if you're only claiming a win that's only a 4-rounder and it's 85 points, that 115 point swing, 30 points is a big swing, when things come down to it, for a national championship, if that's what you're battling for.
Yeah.
So as not only as a competitor, but as a promoter, what are your racers saying to you so far this year? I mean, granted, we got a ways to go before the season starts, up here in the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. And again, like you touched on a few minutes ago, we're looking at the possibility of, $5 to $7 a gallon for gas, and maybe even a little bit more than that for diesel. What are you hearing from your competitors?
I mean, I haven't heard. I mean, the weird part is, like, I don't get a lot of feedback from a lot of people when it comes down to stuff. I mean, I know the 6 or 7. I think a lot of people are worried about what's it gonna look like in, April 14th when the first open race happens at ACO. What's it gonna look like? I mean, I think people kind of look, there, and like Jason will attest, is that, and I'm not trying to steal whole Jason's interview time here, but is that people will do whatever they can to go racing. It don't matter. They'll sell a kidney, they'll sell a, they'll sell an arm, they'll sell whatever to do. I mean, to go racing. I mean, this is, everybody sits around for 6 months on the East Coast and they can't wait to hit that first race of the year, which is usually the ACO Open. Of course, we didn't have ACO last year, so the season didn't really start until Maple Grove last year. But it's a lot of, I think really what people, number one, what gas prices are going to look like, what the state of the world is at the time. Are we in the middle of World War III? I mean, with everything going on overseas right now, so are people scared about that? I think it's really what the state of the world looks like at that time. I mean, gas prices are going to kill people. I mean, if diesel's $6-7 a gallon, I think people are going to choose to stay home, either stay home or they're not going to travel very far, because, when you think about it, gas prices, then, of course, food prices are through the roof. I mean, what was $1,000 trip to go out to Norwalk every year now is turned into $2,500, between entry fees and gas and food and this and that. And so, some people look at it and go, whoa, maybe I should, hold back on that stuff. And but I think time will tell. I mean, I haven't heard very much from a lot of my racers as being a promoter. Not a lot of guys have really voiced their opinions. I think people were more pissed off about the junior dragster thing than they were actually about the Christmas tree changing or whatever. I mean, one of my things, I don't try to get involved with politics with my series and stuff. Like, if somebody's going to, post up there how they feel about, the presidency, I delete it. It's just, there's a time and a place for it. And on top of my, series, comment on about it is not where it needs to be. And if you want to post on your personal page, go right ahead. I about how you feel about things where it was, but don't do it on my page. That's where I look at it as.
So, Jason, we know you're going a little bit more towards the money races over the past few years, and obviously this year coming up. How do you look at it from a competitor's point of view? Are you looking at it now, going, okay, it's only $4 a gallon, but what's it going to be come June?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big factor, especially where our main goal is going to be a little bit more local this year. We're going to run my Camaro, bring that out. Also, a friend of mine has a S10 who's doing a swap to EFI, and his daughter is getting married, the one who drives the truck. So, and she's has a little one on her way. So I'm going to drive the truck for them to kind of tune it and get it ready, help them get it ready for when she comes back to running it. So we're kind of sticking closer to home, but yeah, that's a big deciding factor. I mean, you start making it $6-7 a gallon, and you're gonna have to go all the way to Epping or go all the way down to Virginia, or travel all the way out west to Ohio or Indianapolis area. It starts to become real expensive real fast for one race. And you spend that kind of money on one race, and you still got, say divisional wise, you still got 7 to go. If you're just running divisionals, you got 6-7 races to go, 8 races to go. It's kind of hard to keep up with, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
Then obviously, I'm sure it's going to suffer too. Race fuel is already going up. So now you got to add that into it. Cars got to have something to drink.
Yep.
Not only no vehicle, cars got to drink something. So it adds up fast. And And yeah, on the money side, on the money the big money bracket racing side, boy, that can add up to be real quick. You're looking $300-400 for a weekend entry, $100 buybacks, and then if you're a degenerate gambler like I am, and you get in one of the shootout races, oh man, hey, yeah, here's $100. I won the shootout. Why not? And we have easily, at times going through, 50 gallons of fuel. You start going a lot of rounds and stuff like that, and you're making a lot of laps. You're 25, 30 gallons of fuel in just in the race car. So that can all add up quick. I was fortunate through the Corona lockdown practice tree league. I promote them highly. They've actually, along with Bud and Lee, helping me, hitting the tree and stuff. That's extra practice for me, competition wise. I won 2 entry fees this year. One's to the surrounding races to the million, and one is free weekend entry to a Final Call Promotions race out in Terre Haute, Indiana, for one of their events. So I have 2 free big money events, and then I joined the Mutt and Jeff race. That is the Mutt and Jeff event. Paul puts on a great event, and that's at New Media this year. Used to be at Beaver Springs. So that's where we're at for this year. Once the Duster comes back and we start running that again, we will be back to a mix of division racing, going for a division championship, hopefully maybe a world championship in super gas, and big money bracket racing at the same time. Again, also a state of where the world is at the time.
Right.
I definitely agree with Rob on that one. It's going to be very dependent on what things are. We might have to choose one or the other is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. Let's see. Oh, actually, hang on. I just got a mess. Let me just read through this real quick. Sorry. From Jasmine Weeder. We all complain that there's no new blood in it. If it helps to get more people become interested, I think it's great. If it helps new people win, what's wrong with that? And if it evens out the playing field, then work harder to be the best, which is pretty much what both of you guys have said since we came on.
My father and me were talking about it the other day because he saw that I was coming on tonight. And as we were talking about it, he kind of described it really well. You need to win a championship. What they tell you in sports, to win a championship. It doesn't matter if it's hockey, football, baseball, basketball, any of it. You need offense and defense, right? So win a championship in drag racing, what do you need? You need starting line and finish line. So you need to be able to hit the tree consistent. You need to know either your car needs to run the number all the time, or you need to at least know what your car is running to do what you need to do on the other end. So,
and I agree with Jasmine. I agree with Jasmine and what she's saying and stuff. And my thing is, I'm not, I think me and Jason being second generation drivers, pretty much. Rich drove, right? I can't remember. I'm probably.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. He ran heavy and pro back in the 80s and little 90s, and then about 93, my first event. I made my pass in the junior dragster. He made his pass in the Chevelle, scattered all the rods right on the track at Englishtown, and went, okay, I'm done. And then, but he'll jump in the car once in a while.
But, we're second generation drivers, but the biggest problem, and we're definitely, I think me and Jason are on the same page saying that, we wouldn't deter new blood coming into the sport. We would love to have new blood come to the sport, but, we're, back in the day when our fathers grew up, that was all the rage. 50s, 60s, 70s was, you had a 55 Chevy, you went either took it down the track or you ran it out on the back roads of, it's funny, like my father grew up in Pennsgrove, New Jersey. And when I go to Pennsgrove for either a family function or to go visit of his friends, I have to go on what they call the nostalgia tour. I pretty much have to go, and he takes me to all the back roads where he used to drag race his cars at where it was. And And that's pretty much, he's like, oh, well, this is where the turkey farmer used to shoot a shotgun as, because we were, racing on, we're trespassing on property. And then this guy ran up the end of the track because he didn't know where the end of it was. But, it was more open, back in those days than it is now. And, the unfortunate part is where kids growing up kind of need that education part. I mean, either it's rather a trade school or college, or following in their father's footsteps to keep going, because things are so much more expensive. So for them, for somebody to go to college and come out of college and already be $40,000, $50,000 in debt, and then say, okay, well, we're going to start you, the profession that you want to be in is only going to start out at $35,000 a year, and on top of that, we want you to go drag racing. It unfortunately, like we just said, race fuel, traveling cost, entry fees, this and that, it all adds up, and to the point where you just kind of go, whoa, like, I don't know if I continue wanting to do this unless, somebody takes a step back. Like if, your father decides, what, I finally had enough fun on myself, I'm going to turn the reins over to you, but I'm going to help you with your entry fees and your gas fees and all that stuff. That helps out a bunch. I mean, my dealing with my father was, I didn't get the luxury of having junior dragsters to start out, and I drove my 85 Chevy S10 when I first got it at ACO, and just ran it on a Tuesday night bracket race. And then I had my 2002 Camaro, and I ran that down there on a bracket race. And then one day he's like, listen, you have a full-time job on your belt, you're very successful in your job. I was 25 at the time. He says, I want you to get a license in my car now, and, when you can race, you can race, you can't. I mean, it's not a big thing. So, I wish, and that was also one of the reasons why I brought the junior dragsters into my series. And then some people would disagree with it, and no, they're too noisy, there it is, that was, but a lot of the times the junior dragster kids get out of juniors, and either they can't afford to get into something else, or they jump into a dragster. Now, we just talked about super gas having a lower car count. Maybe somebody rolls out with like a really cool roadster or something, or this kid, maybe a car catches their eye. They'd be like, Dad, I really, really love that roadster that's running super gas right now. And you know what? I'd like to have that rather than having a dragster when I get out of there. Same kind of concept. It's an open cockpit, so it's a dragster type car. I mean, shorter wheelbase, of course, or it was, and but they may turn somebody into, hey, I'll run super gas now because it's a similar car. I love how that roadster looks. I love that 63 Corvette roadster, or that 2020 Camaro type body where it was, and maybe that turns them on to running super gas. Or they might just see your duster and just be like, man, I really love that duster. And my grandfather had a duster similar to Jason's, and I can make that into a super street car. And then they go super street racing, and it adds more people onto it rather than them going into running a dragster. So I mean, adding juniors, I hope that it maybe draws a little more into the .90 crowd, but it to each its own. I mean, but one of the biggest things that I heard from a lot of people listening to their complaints, I mean, their positives and negatives, I mean, every series has it, is that one of their big negatives was there's not enough time down in between your races for let us cool down a little bit, and I know Jason will argue with that, because EFI, I mean, I've seen him make about 15 passes within about an hour, but some of the other guys were like, we go to Cecil. Cecil's a prime example. I mean, Cecil, we go to on one of our races on a Saturday and Sundays. We're the only guys there except for test and tune. And so it's before the time you get back and get your time slip, they're already calling you back up the lane for the next qualifying. And, they haven't even got stuff into the computer yet. They haven't cooled things down. And, when it's 110-degree day out, where it was, kind of makes it a little tough, number one, on your body, number two, on the car itself. So, we'll see. I mean, but, like I said, it's all going to be about what the world looks like in 2 months, when we actually finally can go racing, and it's nice and, 50, 60 degrees out. So
Personally, I like the fact that you got the juniors, and even before I was a father, I always think that's a good idea because how many parents that run .90 have a kid with a junior, now they can race together. I mean, I always some of the bigger money events, not a lot of them, but there is some that do have juniors. There's I think SFG does one of them where they have juniors. It was either that or it was the New Year's Nationals this year down in Bradenton. They had
yeah.
juniors there. If I'm going to go big money racing and my kid's got a junior dragster, that's awesome. I want me and my son to race together. So
that was a complaint I got from some guys. They're like, listen, I got a .90 car, but I also have 3 juniors sitting in the trailer too. I don't want to tow my car just to go down and go race when I got 3 juniors sitting in there and my kids can't do anything because there's no juniors that weekend. So I mean, there's 4 weekends of it. I mean, and we'll see. I mean, maybe it draws a few extra .90 guys into the mix that are going to come run with us. But hey, you got to try different things to, if you don't try and you don't throw something new into the mix where it was, so. But so I got a question for you, Jason, since like I wouldn't say I'm the originator of this because I never take credit for a lot of this stuff but you're a big money bracket racer and .90 racer it was. What's your take, especially since, we've done the .90 Nationals since 2013. It's been on and off, New Media, ACO, Maple Grove. It seems it's found its home at Maple Grove with car counts. Tyler Bohannon and Brian Wentworth did the Class Racers Revival last year, which they did stock, super stock, and comp. This year they added .90 cars for $5,000 Saturday and Sunday. So what's your take on? And then of course we're going to do a big race in September for $10,000 for the .90 cars. What's your take? Do you think this may be the road to go down for .90 cars from here on out, or do you think that it'll stay kind of where it's at?
Again, it's depending on the area and the crowd. You follow what I'm saying? So you got like me. I can tell you, I know of a few other ones that like big money bracket racing, would like to do it, and maybe they're just more into the .90 thing and wish they had the option for it. But then you have, again, like you said, there is a big concentration of older generation .90 guys around here that could care less about the big money stuff. They want to race for their Wally. They want to race for their national or divisional stuff. You know what I mean? I feel the younger generation, then I'd say probably about maybe 10 years older than me, they're into the bigger money stuff as well, or would like to see it in .90, would like to have a race like that, like what you put on. So kind of tough to tell. I think it's very area dependent. If you follow what I'm saying with that,
No.
It's very. No,
I totally. But it's always nice to hear somebody's feedback because I mean, you see my emails I send out, and a lot of times I don't get any feedback from anybody on anything, and you kind of wonder, am I making the right decision, not making the right decision, and a lot of times you don't get any kind of feedback until one day, somebody walks up to you at the racetrack and they're just like, oh, well, I just want to talk to you about this. It's like, well, why didn't you email me back 5 months ago? Because now my brain's like, not focused on what was the actual topic at hand at that time, or it was. So, it's always nice to try to pick somebody else's brain, especially somebody like you who, has always been very opinionated, but very, down to earth with me, and always we can always sit there and shoot the, what, at the racetrack, with each other. So,
and again, that's why I supported that one race. Hey, if I had if the duster didn't catch fire last year, I wasn't there for the other ones. That's why I support the race and that's why I double entered it. That's what I like doing. I wish, honestly, I wish there was more stuff like that. And I've always talked highly about your events. You really, it's a lot of the bigger money events that I like the most. And you're a association I like the most, it's because it's a lot of, not to steal what Shane and Andy call themselves, but it's a for racers by racers. You're a racer yourself. You do what you would like to see if you were at an event. So that's what I like. And 9 times out of 10, for the most part, most people like that. You're always going to have your oddballs. You're going to always have your one or two that don't. But for the most part, most racers enjoy going to other racers' events because it's stuff they like. That's why Michael Beard and Loose Rocker stuff. My God, does he put on great events? I haven't even been to one, and I just am dying to go to one because he puts on such great events, such great payout structures, such great ideas. So again, that's why I always like going to your events. But again, it's, to me, it's a you're dealing with a tough crowd and a big mixed bag of, still, like I said, some very old school mentality where the Wally is more important sometimes, which to me, I want the Wally too. I want that as well, but I would like money in my pocket to get to the next event. So,
Yeah.
Like I tell Rob all the time whenever he's on here, there will come a day, mark my words, where the Piggy Trophy will outdo the Wally.
they're cool trophies. You know, even one of those when you used to give out it looked like a tree.
Yeah.
Like even those, it was like I just wanted one because it was different. You know what I mean? I could just never get it. And then again, me and Ron running each other in the finals. I'm like, yes, I'm going to get a .90 trophy final. And then the car spun at the head. I'm like, so, and obviously Ron's not going to give me any room, you know, especially in Neville's car. Ron and Neville's car is just a deadly. I am so glad he doesn't run that car normally.
You never know. You might be there full time. You know,
what happened? You never know.
Yeah, I mean, he told me, he vouched to me and said that I will be in a car next year. I don't know what it will be, and from what he told me, he says he's not rebuilding the Corvette. So, you know,
he can wheel my Camaro if he wants to. I don't care.
The question of the day is: does it still say Jason Lawrence on the side of it?
Dude, that car's been.
Did Walt spray paint his name on the side of it yet?
That car's been passed around so much. There should be 40 names on the side of that door. That's a community car.
All right. Another thing to kind of for you guys to debate about, obviously a month and a half or so ago, they made the announcement about for the bracket finals, Super Pro and Pro are going to run the 8th. Thoughts?
Okay.
I'll let Jason take that one.
So when it first came out, obviously we
Actually,
also
hold. Sorry, let me interrupt for just 1 sec. Just so we're 100% clear, that's in every division. Is that correct?
Okay. No, that I don't know.
I think Division 7 or 6 or something is still going to run quarter. I believe. I think it is. Unless they've changed, I'm not too sure. I think there was like 1 or 2 divisions that were still going to run a quarter mile for their bracket finals, and then because I think the bracket finals in Vegas are a quarter mile.
All right, so that was going to be my next question. So does that mean that at the end of the year, wherever it is, Pomona or Vegas, excuse me, it'll be an 8th or a quarter?
I believe it's supposed to be quarter still.
Yeah, and that's where it was last year in Vegas, was a quarter.
Right.
So I think I can't say much as far as stuff go, because I really think is that they want to keep it a quarter at the bracket finals when it's at either Pomona or Vegas, you know, because I did a lot of work. I did help out Maple Grove a lot this past year. And what happens a lot, especially with the national event tracks, is that you see it when the nitro cars come out, they got to remove cones at the 1320 block, because not the beams will go ahead and come across and actually catch the blocks at the 1320. So that's why you see them run out there and they remove the block so it doesn't keep on timing itself. So that's why it stops at 1,000 foot. So I can't see somebody going run out there and removing half the racetrack of blocks so that they can run 8th mile.
But if we go now, okay, so switch on Motor Mania when we're done the video, okay? Switch on Motor Mania and just put up Door Wars, okay? And watch that. All the cones are still out
there. Yeah,
we're running 8th.
Unless it's NHRA's stuff at the national events that they don't want to do that because, I mean, maybe they don't personally want to change the blocks themselves for that reason. I mean, so that they don't have to keep on, I don't, unfortunately, I don't know the mentality. I don't, because I mean, like I said, I worked at Maple Grove a couple races this year, and there was a couple races we were forced to go to 8th mile because of either weather coming in or the track went away or it was, and the blocks stayed where they were at. But then, you go to a national event, when the fuel cars come out, when Top Fuel and Funny Car, you see them remove the 1320 blocks, so I don't know if that's just a visual thing for a pro guy to, when they see that 1,000-foot code and they know they have to lift, because they used to have flags at the 1,000-foot mark and now they don't. So I don't really know what unless they haven't made an announcement as far as what their plan is for the bracket finals themselves, the final at Vegas, if they're going to go quarter or 8th. I mean, we know Division One's already been announced at 8th mile. And I believe it was Caitlin from ACO came up there and said it was split right down the middle. Out of the tracks that were NHRA sanctioned that took the vote, they literally are split down the middle. I think like 6 and 6 or 7 and 7 or whatever it is. So, I believe it was the final call was probably Dave's call as the what they were going to do. I think for brackets wise, I think 8th mile is probably smarter. I know there's the arguments out there that it saves parts and it saves, and I believe the insurance costs, go down a little bit because they're not running the full quarter. One of the big things that really would help out a bunch is if you're going to go 8th mile is you have a track that has a short shutoff or a short cutoff like ACO does, where ACO has that one like 200 feet past the scoreboards. That's easy. But like if you have a Maple Grove where you have to go all the way down the end, that kind of makes time, go a little bit longer than it really should, probably, as far as, shortening up an event. I mean, I did 1.90 race at Maple Grove. We were forced to go to 8th mile because of rain. And I don't know. It was tough on a throttle stop car to try to dial it in for 8th mile. But maybe that's just me. I don't, but it's one of the only time, and it was way too short for me. I just felt like, by the time I'm past the grandstands, or it wasn't, my time's already showing up on the scoreboard. I was like, what's this all about? So, but I think it's everybody's opinion, and everybody has an opinion, and Facebook and all the message boards have, pretty much, I think, allowed everybody to become a keyboard cowboy. Everybody can, say what they want to say. It just, so you're going to have the people who love quarter mile. You got the people who hate 8th mile. You got the people who hate quarter mile, the people who love 8th mile. Just like people thought that the halftime show at the Super Bowl was great, and other people thought it absolutely was horrible. People are going to say whatever they're going to say, and it's just how the world operates now. So, I think it's to each its own, and just be glad that we got racetracks to race at, and rather we run quarter mile, 8th mile, half a mile, 60 foot, just be happy that, we're able to be at the racetrack and hang out with our friends and drink beer at the end of the night.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, he is right, and a lot of people, they'll just fire off their opinion, and some of it is what I've done is my opinion on it. One of my questions would be, and sometimes I wish NHRA would do this, is why? Again, give me the why also. whether I agree with it or I disagree with it, just give me the why. Why did we think to do 8th mile? Are you looking to potentially get some IHRA tracks to switch over? IHRA, talked to a few friends of mine who run IHRA. Not every IHRA track runs 8th mile, but their bracket finals is 8th mile. Their world championship, world finals at the end is 8th mile ran. Southern Bracket Racing Association, which is just a thing up around here. I forget how far down it stretches, but they run an 8th mile bracket finals for their point series, and a lot of them run 8th mile. Big money bracket racing, one of the big reasons why 8th mile came about was because, so up here in the Northeast, we got quarter mile tracks galore, quarter mile everywhere. You start to exclude some of your Southern racers that are from the Carolinas that have only 8th mile tracks that would run up here at some of the big money bracket races, but there's cars set up for 8th mile only. So now, again, you're excluding somebody from being at your event who would be there. And obviously, big money events you need car count for payout and things like that. So that's where a lot of that came from. I talked to a few people again, and yeah, I got better responses with this than I did the tree. some of the stuff, now there is some of the stuff where you got some still goofy answers like, oh, if it's going to be 8th mile, that's just a practice tree race. Nah, it's actually not. I am not 000 perfect on the tree every time, and I don't claim to be. And there's been plenty of times where I've won rounds of racing being behind on the tree at the 8th mile. So it is not a practice tree race. There are still 2 ends of the track. Slightly a little different driving at the finish line in the 8th than it is the quarter. Some adjustments need to be made, but for the most part, closure rate is closure rate. But some of the people had said to me the history of bracket finals and what it is has always been quarter mile. Okay, I can, now you gave me a reason why you wish it would stay quarter mile. You enjoy quarter mile racing. You like the speed of going quarter mile racing. The history of what bracket finals has been forever, quarter mile. Okay, cool. I have a reason why you prefer it to be that way. Again, are they trying to drag some IHRA guys in and stuff like that? Are they just trying something different to see if it will help car count? Back when I went to bracket finals in the mid to late 2000s, bracket finals was raced like a divisional race. Your time runs Thursday, time runs Friday. Friday night was your race of champions race and your track managers race. And Saturday morning was bracket finals. And if you lost first round, you put your car in the trailer and you went home. Or you stayed and watched your friends and drank beer and slept overnight and went home on Sunday. But point being is when you lost first round on Saturday, you were done. Now it's 2 gamblers races. You lose first round and you get to go into a consolation race. So the history of bracket finals is kind of gone at that point. It is not what bracket finals used to be. So they are trying to make changes to car count. I went this year. I was fortunate enough to squeak in this year and drive a friend's car. And they not only had on Saturday the main event done and winner circle photos pretty much done, they had the consolation race done. I put my car in the trailer. I went and checked out of the hotel because we were done so early, ate dinner, and then was on the road, and it was still light out. It was done that early. Bracket finals, when I went to the quarterfinals and street eliminator, it was night. It was the middle of the night. We were talking 7, 8 o'clock at night, and we're only into the quarterfinals. So think about it that way. Car count is down. And like I said, I put that meme up that I did because when I went there, a lot of the guys I saw and a lot of guys that are participating there are people who run a lot of these big money events. You pay more money to run that big money event than you do for bracket finals. And you're going to go run 8th mile over there. Now, granted, I also know there's also a lot of people that race, especially you can see more like at Lebanon Valley and Epping. They just run their local track and that's about it. They don't travel much. They won't do big money bracket racing stuff. So I can understand that they're just used to quarter mile racing, and this will be kind of a bummer for them, it being switched to 8th. But again, the NHRA is trying something, I guess, to see if they can get more car count, maybe get a local, another track that's IHRA sanctioned to switch over and run with NHRA. Again, my kind of thoughts on it is fully give it a chance, give it a shot. If it fails and they don't get car count and it maybe makes it worse, then switch it back. What's it hurt to try for a couple years to see if it does something, makes it better? Again, you got Rob down there talking about some of the stuff he's done and changes he's made along the way to his association, and some of the stuff he tries, sees if it works. If it doesn't work, okay, I know not to do that again. So give it a shot, give it a chance, see what it's about. And if it doesn't work, then maybe they'll switch it back. I know, again, talking to one of my friends who is IHRA, when Norwalk used to be IHRA, their bracket finals actually used to switch every other year. 1 year would be quarter mile, 1 year would be 8th mile. They would actually switch back and forth. That's how it was run for a while. And then when Norwalk went to NHRA, now it's just 8th mile bracket finals for them.
All right, let me throw this question at both of you. Neither of you might even know the answer to it. Why hasn't the bracket finals made it up my way?
Where are you talking, Epping?
New England.
So I think what a lot of it is it's what tracks vouch they want to have the bracket finals. I don't think I think it's for the longest time, and Jason will attest to this, for the longest time was always at Maple Grove Raceway. Maple Grove always had the bracket finals. It's the way it was. And then whatever, politics or whatever got put in there was, Maple Grove didn't want it anymore. I believe that there was some issues with, I don't know. Rumors always get, thrown around, or it was, but I always heard that there was some accidents after hours that caused a lot of eyes to be open, like in, with the cops and stuff, where it was that made Maple Grove get a black eye from the township, I guess you would say, because there's some stuff going on, and I guess they just didn't want that anymore.
Stupid stuff, yeah,
pretty much. And I guess they didn't want that anymore, so I guess they decided to go away from having the bracket finals. So then the bracket finals became kind of a moving, like a moving deal. Went to New Media, went to ACO, went to Lebanon Valley. Now Maple Grove's got it back again for this year because, it's a whole different regime of, I guess you say it's somewhat the same staff that has been there. Can't say anything about owners, but, it's just a lot of, moving around. And Epping I have nothing against Epping. I've been there before. It's just a tough drive for a lot of people. And like how Jason had Jason said, was that, the car counts for the bracket finals is always tough. And, I guess probably the kind of reason you don't see it down in Virginia either is because Virginia's so far south that a lot of people don't want to travel that far south down to, for them to go there. So Epping's kind of in the same boat as Virginia is. They want to kind of keep it where they know that they're going to be able to draw cars. There's I can tell you, and Jason may attest to this too, is that there's been people who run on a Saturday at ACO for bracket finals, and I think they take the top 12 cars, I believe it is, in their Saturday night points to go to the bracket finals. When it's at like Lebanon Valley, they go down to like the 25th person in points because people don't want to travel to Lebanon Valley. listen, I've been there before. I mean, I don't have nothing wrong with the place. I mean, but I just know, people are set in their ways. They just don't want to travel from Acco up to Lebanon Valley and drive the 7 hours or whatever it is to go to Lebanon Valley. Same vice versa, just like the people in Lebanon Valley. I mean, there's been people I know for the division races that, will leave their trailers there, and that, they are, I think told to buy a tech card for the division race, so they don't have to move their trailers or something. I think it was I heard something along that way, whatever it was. But people don't want to leave Lebanon Valley to come down to Acco or come to Maple Grove or Cecil County, or it was. So I think it's, I think people all have their set in their ways. Like Jason said earlier, is that the prestige, I think, of the bracket finals isn't as much as it used to be. And I think a lot of it also is because when the prestige was so high, you didn't have all these big money bracket races. It seems to be, I hate to say it, it's almost kind of like a, the dummy books that you get, where it's like, Windows for Dummies or whatever it is. They should make almost like a like, not for nothing. I mean, because Pete Biondo does a great job with the spring flings, but he should write a book on how to do it, because everybody has followed suit on how Pete runs his events. And now there's so many people out there who kind of like are promoters for big money bracket racing, that there's 1, 2, 3 races almost every weekend out of the year. And it's almost hard to pick and choose. And, are you going to look at it and go, well, am I going to run for a 10, 20, 10, 20 or 10 at, Virginia the same weekend as bracket finals, when I have to go up there and run for $2,000 or $3,000, or do I, and then if I do happen to win the whole entire bracket finals, then I got to find a way to get all the way out to Las Vegas, either, paying my way to drive all the way out there, or find somebody who's taken a boatload of cars out there and have to split all the costs that I get for that to drive all the way out there. So I think the prestige of going out there as much as it used to be isn't there now, because of so many big money bracket races where everybody can just go and run for 10, 20 or 10, or heck, even just, 3 5s. I mean, heck, 3 5s anymore is like lower. Like, people don't even want to even pull out their driveway for $3,000-$5,000 races anymore. Everybody wants, if it's not like, I think Luke Bagaki had one on his, Luke and Jed had a podcast about that probably about a year or 2 years ago, that it's gotten to the point now where I think, like, if it's not $20,000, it's not even worth pulling out of your driveway, and that's almost kind of the mentality now, is like the $10,000 bracket races are kind of like the $2,000 division races. It's, and I think the bracket finals have kind of suffered because of that. I mean, you're filling in, you don't have the top 10 or top 12 guys who were for each track. I mean, then you got the guy who showed up for 1 or 2 races, and got in as a 25th or 26th, racer who, hey, I'm all about driving up to Lebanon Valley. Or Team Canada pretty much is all the guys who, maybe ran one race in Canada, or ran a race somewhere it was, and then they formed a team out of Team Canada. And I think that kind of, the people who have been loyal to the bracket finals for so long, it kind of deters them, kind of pisses them off that, it's not as loyal as it used to be.
And I have to agree with Rob 100%. 100%. Some of the stuff I'm sitting here thinking in my head as he's talking, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll touch upon this point, he already nailed it. He nailed every point. It's the prestige of it isn't there. What's funny is divisional racing and your .90 guys, Rob puts on an awesome event at New Media and gets 10 cars per class, but everybody and their brother show up for the divisional. You know what I mean? So the prestige of winning a divisional Wally and all that stuff that's very still in people's focus, and like, .90 and stuff like that. But on the bracket race side, your local bracket guys, the prestige of doing that is it's not as prestigious anymore. You know what's prestigious? To have your car going down the track at the finals of, the $150,000 win foot brake race. We all know who did that one. Or $100,000 to win foot brake race. A local guy did that for, Mr. Harvey did that and won that. That's prestigious to see your car on Motor Mania in the finals for that and win that. There is still, don't get me wrong, there is still a big following, like Rob said, or enough of a following where that is still a goal on people's bucket list, their resume that they still want to fill in, that they've won bracket finals and that they've gone out and represented their division at world finals. There is still people that want to do that. So this is not a general overlay of everybody's thought process. There are still a lot of people who want to do that. But there was also a big fair amount of people that I know the guy who finished number one at ACO the one year when it was at New Media decided not to go and went to a big money bracket race. He would have ran for the Race of Champions and had the, 21 or whatever it is on his car for Pro Eliminator. He decided to go to a big money event. He found it better to go to a big money event than have all the stuff that comes along with being a track champion at bracket finals. So right there, you know what I mean? Right there shows you what bracket finals is for some people. Some people it's just a race. It's not the race. Right. And again, back in the day, that's what it was. You raced all year long to get to that race. That was the race. That was the point of racing all year long. But even now, and I think that's why some of the local attendance is hurt at a lot of tracks too. Do I race points today? Or do I go to the World Foot Brake Challenge? Or do I go run Door Wars down at Maryland? I can tell you that I'm going to run local points this year, and I'm missing 2 races for big money races that I'm going to go to. So, like I said, I think the prestige of it isn't there. And back to your actual main question of why not all the way up there. I think Rob is 100% hit the nail on the head. I know it went down to 20s or 30s this year in Super Pro to get a team together for ACO to get up to Lebanon Valley. They don't want to go to Lebanon Valley. They sure isn't going to go all the way up to Epic. And I know for you, it's a bummer because you'd like to be there and see something like that and have it at your home track. But unfortunately, it's just the toe. And again, think about it as a local bracket racer, us as divisional racers, .90s, and the big money stuff, toe like that's nothing. That's peanuts. But for the local guy who runs their local track all the time, that might as well be in California. That might as well be going to Pomona or Vegas. The Epping, oh my God, I can't believe you guys do that twice a year for a divisional and a national. So it would be very tough to fill it.
And I think if they actually, to step on that a little bit, is if they actually did a big money type bracket finals, if all 7 divisions got together and just said, okay, we're going to do the Race of Champions is worth, $10,000. The actual bracket finals is worth 20 and whatever else is worth, like a Sunday race is worth $5,000. And I think Bob Domino tried to do that in the media. And I'm not sure, I think he succeeded on 1 year on it or was, but I don't think he was able to do them the rest of what it was, where they turn it into where it's actually worth people to go up there and say, okay, Race of Champions is worth $10,000 to win. The bracket finals are worth $20,000 to win. You would probably get the top 12 people out of each track would be like, heck yeah, I'm going to go run for that. But when it's only, what is it? Jason, you would know better than me. $4,000, I think, to win bracket finals, maybe.
I forget. All I know is my one friend, he went to the quarterfinals and got $100.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just, I know
it's close on the payout. It's like for Super Pros more than pros more than street, and so on. So it's also class dependent on what the payout is.
Yeah. And I think it has hurt, the big money races have hurt the Saturday night programs at local events. I mean, that's why I think you see a lot of these tracks this year are stepping up their game. ACO is 2,500 hours to win guaranteed in Super Pro. Island went up to 1,500 in Pro and 1,000 in Super but they get a lot more Pro cars than they get Super cars at Island. Cecil doesn't have a back. Maple Grove, I believe, is going to be announcing their payout structure very, very shortly, which will be increased over last year. So I think a lot of they're trying to do is trying to get these people back into the old, get back to where they used to be, where they could go run for 2,500 hours on a Saturday night and let it be one race, or it was on one day. And you don't really, if you live local, you don't have to travel. If you, whatever, you got a motorhome, you can stay overnight and roll out Sunday morning, whatever it is. I mean, I hope to see, big car counts. I mean, I know when we'll be at ACO with the .90 series the week before the division race, we have a double bracket race the same weekend. So we have .90 and East Coast Stock, Super Stock in the morning, brackets on Saturday night, and then same thing on Sunday it was. So, what the tracks love about that is that the .90 guys, we're done at 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, not that they don't want to go visit the bar or go hang out or was. They're like, heck, I'll jump and run a Super Pro race. And then you end up getting 150 Super Pro cars where it was. So it helps. The track loves it because, 150 cars that show up or it was run Super Pro. I mean, yeah, they're running you rampant, but hey, I mean, it's a big car count that showed up because they like that. So, I think if the bracket finals were a little more money being pushed out, maybe they could probably attempt, and I think you might actually get the best to come at it, and rather than having number 31 that finished in points because he showed up one day and didn't even make it there for first round, just broke the beam and got his points, and boom, he automatically makes the thing because they've gone down to 31 and nobody else has wanted to go. So he says, yeah, heck yeah, I'll go,
All right. Last thing I want to throw at you guys. I had a conversation with somebody about a month and a half ago, and heard about Jegs was sold to a company called Greenbrier. Not many people really posted anything public, so I don't think that many people knew about it. We had found out about it, but decided to sit on it because we figured it wasn't our place to go public with it, let them do it. Over the weekend, they went public with the fact that they have definitely been sold to a company called Greenbrier. What do you guys think that's going to do?
Honestly, on this one, I really don't have much of an insight or opinion on that. So I don't really know if it's going to help or hurt. Usually when investment groups seem to take over a business, it doesn't usually really pan out too well from what I've seen in the past. But who knows? That's going to be we'll have to sit, watch, and see how that plays out. But again, that's just my 5 cents on it.
Fair enough. Rob?
I think it's what I've seen so far is that I think the investment companies are going to hurt the little things for the most part. Jegs was a big part of my series the past 3 years or so. They had all intentions of coming back on board in November when I talked to Woody, Scott Woodruff, who's their PR guy. Had all intentions of coming back on board with the series for 2022. And, I let the holidays kind of settle in, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that stuff to get through. And when I checked back in with him, he said that things were, there was some stuff going down, and unfortunately they were out for this year. So what I think and what I have seen from a lot of these investment companies have come in and bought like that was they really focus a lot on the big money, the big picture. So your NHRA, your Indy cars, NASCAR, anything that's got a big following like them do, whereas like the little series, the little associations, I think what you'll see is like the big money bracket races that are sponsored by Jegs, that I think the investment companies will start to look at they'll look at Motor Mania and start to see like, what kind of viewership they're getting from Motor Mania. They'll look at the stands and not see anybody in the stands. And I think that, I think unfortunately the investment companies, because now you're no longer owned by racers. Jegs was owned by racers. It was a racers mentality. What I've noticed from some of the other companies I deal with that have been bought out by investment companies they have scaled back immensely on their involvement. And so I'll let you like a little bit into the insight on their philosophy, and it's not going to take me that long. So what it used to be was, I'm just going to take this for,
not to cut you off, but if you don't mind, I do have to go. I have something I had to do, and I didn't realize how late it was.
All right,
That's okay.
no problem, Jason. Thank you for coming on and hanging out, though. I appreciate it.
Dude, it was good talking to both of you. Definitely good talking to you, Rob. And
You too,
we're
Jason.
kind of that the Camaro should be a little quicker this year. So maybe I'll come out and play with you guys again for a little bit at some of the the ACO events and stuff like that.
Sounds good, bud.
All right. See you guys later.
All right, Jason, thank you again.
Yep. See you.
All right, have a great night. All right, Jason Lawrence, everybody, one of our guests for tonight. Go ahead, Rob.
So I'll take this for example real quick. So these are some gift certificates that I got for the banquet that are coming up on March 26th. So this is Maui. So Maui gives us like a $200 gift certificate towards the banquet. So what it used to be back in the day was that they would give you a $200 gift certificate. They counted that as just on their return on investment was $200. So if they got the $200 back, they really didn't care if they got it back or didn't get back. It was kind of a write-off almost to a point. Now with these investment companies coming in, that $200 gift certificate, they count that as $200 in cash. So if it doesn't come back as $200, if somebody doesn't, maybe they let it expire, or maybe it gets thrown away, or it gets misplaced and they never use it, they count that, the investment companies are counting that as $200 lost on their P&L, on their bottom end. So that's what a lot of that I'm seeing with a lot of the investment companies now, is that, if they don't see an investment going back forth, they're not going to invest their money or their time into certain programs. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jegs. I hope nothing changes. It may not. I mean, but time will tell. So that's really, I mean, all I can really say is as far as I go. But I kind of think, the smaller type, involvement that Jegs has had with, especially my series and stuff like that, that they're gonna go towards a bigger picture now, rather than, because I know Jegs is involved with you. So I mean, they may, get, viewership for you and see where they're at, as far as viewership goes, and stuff. So I mean, like I said, time will tell, as far as that goes, but I just hope it all pans out. I mean, I know, you go on, everything is doom and gloom, minute it popped up on there, everything was doom and gloom about, stuff. So yeah, we'll see.
Fair enough. All right, so what'd you say, March 26th is the Mid-Atlantic .90 Series Awards Banquet?
Yep, March 26th is the banquet, and I believe March 28th, myself and my Vice President, Dana Leone, will be on with you that night. And I may possibly have another special guest, depending on if everything comes to light here for stuff. So I'll give everybody kind of a insight into this, is that if everything comes to light, and I'm not sure if it will or not, we're still working on it, that there will be a junior dragster series coming out of my series. So we'll actually have a championship for the junior dragsters. So we're working on sponsorship right now and payouts, and the payouts will be very good for junior dragsters. So, we figured it was time to expand a little bit and hopefully get some good payouts for the juniors, because they deserve it. And .90 racers who are racing with their kids with juniors have a place to go and race also on some weekends off. And but we're still working on it with this gentleman, and hopefully if it all comes to light, might have that gentleman on also on the 28th. So we'll see.
Fair enough. This has kind of like been the year of the junior dragster, I think, for some reason, especially with us, because at the Saturday night of the divisional at Lebanon Valley, our live show is going to be focused specifically on the juniors. They've been a hot topic of conversation since we came back in January, and it just seems to be growing more and more for whatever
Well,
reason.
you have to get the future of the sport involved, and that's the biggest thing. Is if we want to continue the sport, we want to continue, how things go. We got to, unfortunately, got to stop sticking our head in the sand and being like, I don't want them at a racetrack with us. And they don't belong here and stuff like that. So you can't have that mentality. I mean, it's just not good for the future of the sport. And if you want to see the sport survive, you want to see the sport prosper and grow, and maybe a lot of these kids don't go into the same class you run, or some of these do, whatever they do go in the same class, but you got to open it up for them to be able to see what's out there and see if they can afford one to come race with us, and to run for some good money and to have fun. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is to have fun and be able to expand our sport and bringing in the new eyes and new people it was, so that maybe you grow stuff. So
not directed at you, but it's not your racetrack, and it's not for you to decide if they're going to race there or not.
Yeah. I mean,
Plain and simple.
We're
We've
giving
all
you
heard
another
it.
avenue. We're giving you another avenue to race, and we just hope that that you come out and race with us, just like the .90 series. I mean, like Jason, touched on earlier. You got the people who are Wally chasers who would just go to Wally's, and they kind of feel like the .90 series is 5 levels below an NHRA race. And unfortunately, there's people out there who feel that way. And there's people that have told me that to my face, that I won't run your series because I feel I'm down, your series is down here, whereas the NHRA is up here. And I don't get the recognition that I should through your series as I would with the NHRA. So I take it with stride, and I say thank you very much and move on.
Yep. We all know what
That's all you can
opinions are like. So with that being said, Rob, thank you for it's kind of a last minute deal with Pete having some problems at his garage, but I thank you for coming on and hanging out with us and having some good conversation tonight about a variety of topics. And like I said, March 28th, Rob will be back with us to talk about what's going to happen for the rest of the 2022 with the Mid-Atlantic .90 series and their expansion and growth. And that's that. Appreciate
Sounds
it.
good. No
Thank
problem.
you, buddy.
All right. Have
All
a good
right.
night.
You too. Everybody heading to Florida, drive safe. Enjoy yourself. Go to south of the border. If it's still open, who knows? Go to Disney World, have fun, get a churro. See ya. We're out of here.